So, hi. Um, it's the middle of the night or early morning, and the night has been painful for me. I put the setting of the inversion table without the strap so that it would go completely vertical, and I felt the blockages in my left leg and my feet. So now I know, because my brain is connected to my body now, when it wasn't um, on the psych drugs in my 30s, because those drugs are a chemical lobotomy. And not just a lobotomy, actually, just chemical annihilation of the brain's connection to the body. So it's possible that someone could probably put a knife through their own hand and not really feel it. And I remember seeing on an American channel on television years ago about this man who was called mentally ill or schizophrenic or something like that. And he had cut off his own hand because he knew some of his friends at the homeless shelters where they would eat together who were amputees, and he decided that he would have more camaraderie if he no longer had a hand attached to his arm. And so this is the thing, is that he brought the hand in, and the doctors wanted to reattach it, and the patient wouldn't let them, so they had to dispose of the hand. But that is what the drugs do, and I think if he was young enough, maybe in his 40s, if he had come off his psych drugs the way I came off mine. I saw also an article of a publication by someone on Facebook that there was a discovery, about the psych drugs being harder to come off than heroin and far more painful, which they are indeed. Others have said about their propensity to scream cry when they had the pains with the withdrawals, and well, that's what I used to do on a regular basis in initial withdrawal. I used to lie on the floor and scream cry into pillows for quite a long time until I slept, because the pain was that much. It was terrible. And it did the initial withdrawal lasted about 2 years. And it was very hellish. And then the waves and windows would be farther apart. And by the 5th year off the psych drugs, after being polydrugged for 11 years in my 30s, that's when I started to have my brain clear, and the fog in my brain cleared in one afternoon, like a curtain rising on a stage in the theater. It was that sudden, and I don't know what the long or the shelf life or whatever life that these drugs have after so-called being out of your body, but I don't think they are when they do go into bone marrow, if you're on them long enough. They continue to do their work um, long after someone has stopped taking them. And their work is basically to make you crazy and blind to the things around you, and a sitting duck for thieves and con artists, and to be called incompetent and lose your power of attorney, which is something that happened for me in 1998. That was right after Dad had died the year before, and the year before that, Mom had died, and the year before that, I left my kindergarten sweetheart, who I married at the age of 28. And it was a good thing that that marriage ended, but I lost an awful lot. I lost my beautiful dog, Lady. I lost, in 1998, I lost my entire inheritance to the public curator, $30,000, and have not seen that back in my life restored to me, despite the main levée in 2007, yeah. So it was 2007, like 9 years later, where I got myself off the public curator because the psychiatric team had said, well, she doesn't need those drugs anymore. And I never needed them in the first place because, as Dr. Krause had said, I was obviously misdiagnosed from the very beginning. So, speaking of drugs, I wanted to say that when I was in my later teens, I was put on the antibiotic tetracycline because I had breakouts on my skin. And I likely had breakouts on my skin because my liver was not capable of eating the type of seafood, shellfish, that was part of our meals as we were growing up, especially after Mom was on her own with us. She used to like to make shrimp creole with those little shrimp, and I could eat the little shrimp, and I was guilted into trying to eat shellfish because the rest of my family would be at the cottage and they'd all be eating steamed clams with butter and lobster with butter, and there I'd be at the card table eating a peanut butter and jam sandwich because I couldn't eat shellfish. And then my cousins came up and they started singing at me, "You ain't a Nova Scotian if you don't like fish," meaning if I didn't like the shellfish, well, I wasn't, part of them. And I never really have been part of them, despite the time when I was 15, and I went to high school in Nova Scotia. And the reason why I went to high school in Nova Scotia at the age of 15 was because I was home alone with Mom. My sister had gone to the university in New Brunswick, I think Mount Allison, when she was 16. And I had my 16th birthday in Glasgow, Nova Scotia. Anyway, so going back after that, I was told that I had to take care of my mom when I was 16, so I went back to the school in Chateauguay, and I was at home alone with Mom. And yeah, I'd have breakouts and so on, and so they put me on this antibiotic tetracycline for a number of years because they thought, well, you have to keep on taking it for your skin. And I think I only really started coming off it when I was 20 or 21, or even 22. At 21 is when I would have been considering how to be on my own because Mom's alcoholism had just skyrocketed, and I mean, it went up in phases, didn't it? So, when I was 14, it was bad, and then when I was 21, it was worse, and then when, I was 27, 28, it was, we had a family intervention, and she went into rehab for a time, but that didn't work. So, the fact is that she was popping Valium by that time for like 26 years. So, these drugs, they can make a person crave alcohol, which is what happened to Mom in the tetracycline, I gotta say. That antibiotic, which was ravaging my intestines and robbing it of all the good bacteria, on top of finding new friends and drinking my first beers, and then enjoying beers with my boyfriend, and the beer and the tetracycline just made me so irritable and even shocking to myself. I didn't know what was going on, and the things that would come out of my mouth. But I saw a dog in a dog park once who was on antibiotics, and it was just the most growly, upset, don't come near him creature. And by that time, I think I said, you should have probiotics when you're giving your dog antibiotics. Anyway, a balanced gut is the thing. And that's what I guess I didn't have. So I lost someone I consider to be now after living so long, and the dreams at night that I would have, and even the experience of losing that young man when I was 21. I consider him to be my twin flame. And it was the tetracycline and alcohol that created the hellion in me. And the, suspicious and just, the dark side of anybody's personality will come out when, they have an antibiotic, and just, it always says don't drink any alcohol. Well, the reason is because the person will become an abusive, foul-mouthed schmuck, Yeah, my mom, she had a lot of words that she would use that I picked up. So, yes, now I have with my lovely Jewish friends, and especially my friend Carol, a salute to her, because she's been really so supportive and kind and giving and helpful in so many ways since my Finn passed away. And one thing about her is that her man, who is approaching 90, and there's the thing that was common to the both of us, or three of us anyways, that our mates were that much older than us. So she's younger than he is. And he has been on a benzodiazepine and other medications. I don't know what they are, but I do know about the benzodiazepine. And he's just lost in space, you know. And there was one time that Finley and I were waiting for Carol's fella to show up, and it was hours and hours and hours we waited. So just when I decided to put on a soup for the two of us and we were starting to eat, there was the knock at the door. You see, when someone is given these sedatives, life is a blur, and you forget, and so yeah, Carol is experiencing how detrimental a psychiatric drug can be on a mate, on a spouse, for them, you know, for them, because it's shocking. Some of the things that happen are just far too stressful, and I have to remind you that Mom did some pretty shocking things on the Valium. So yeah, antibiotics, that just, you know, that was prescribed to me, I think, when I was 17, and so I was ingesting that up until the time I was 21. And, you know, when I learned to drink alcohol, you know, the things that would come out of my mouth would surprise me and make me think, oh my goodness, what's going on with me? You know, is it me? But none of these things were me. Much like I recall watching 48 Hours on the A&E channel, or another channel, but anyway, can't recall exactly which channel it was, but I do know that the program was 48 Hours, and that's with police officers catching the criminals who murder citizens, and so they capture murderers and their accomplices. And one time they discovered that there was a woman who was goading her friend to kill somebody while she was high on Xanax. And I remember the police officer saying, well, no, Xanax is not your excuse. You can't go by that. That was you who did that. Well, there's going to have to be a sea change on this, too, because these drugs, these psychiatric drugs like Xanax, and the other drugs, they cause violent behavior and criminal behavior in people who otherwise would never do those sorts of things. So, in my 30s, even before I was free of the kindergarten sweetheart, while I was still married to him, I shoplifted on Prozac. I shoplifted. And of course I was caught because it's so obvious. I mean, you're blitzed out of your mind on these drugs. So I'm looking back, and there, even after that, after leaving that kindergarten sweetheart, I had run-ins with the law. So yeah, I've got a police record. Oh dear. And then another thing, this will probably make the video that I'm about to share. When I was married the second time, this fellow was so violent, out of control, and beyond the pale, intoxicated an awful lot of the time when he chose to be intoxicated. And like I said, he ran off after the neighbor's roommate with the carving knife, the bone-handled carving knife, which I shall never see again. And yeah, so there goes that wedding gift that I got from my first marriage. Anyway, this second marriage, there was one night, I'm sure we were drinking, the two of us, and of course I was on psychiatric drugs. Well, he introduced me to those really big bottles of beer that you can get that are high alcohol content, and so he would get a few of those. He also, he was on Paxil, so, but he did, probably he did crack on occasion, most likely, because he loved cocaine. So he was taking uppers and downers and uppers, and sweating profusely and not knowing why. But that, of course, like I said, that marriage didn't last long at all. But one night, it was for me. Close to the last straw for me to be on those psychiatric medications. I wanted off them, right? I wanted off them. And there's the light coming in from the window. And I have a candle going. A candle seems to calm me. Anyway, this is hard to talk about. He got really violent, and he used to knock me out. I mean, he would, like in the movies, I'm sure you got it from a movie, you smash your forehead against someone else's forehead to knock them out. Well, he knocked me out. He would knock me out to take my money from my purse. He would pummel me to take my money from my purse. So this one night, I got angry back, and I picked up a knife to defend myself, just to hold it in my hand while I dialed 911. And he said, and she's got a knife. So 4 police officers, 2 women and 2 men. I think it was like, the pairing was 1 male officer with 1 female officer and another set. And they had their guns right at us, and they yelled to me, "Put that bottle down." And there's no way I would have made any kind of I don't know, weapon with it. It was a full bottle, and you can't crash that against anything. I mean, it's impossible. You know, that in the movies they must, you know, when they do that, the glass is very thin, very fine, but, you know, beer bottles, no, it's pretty thick, and probably where they get a lot of their volume anyway. So, yeah, and they put us in bracelets and handcuffs, and I spent a night in jail. So did Kent. That was his name, Kent Redcliffe. He had been a student of my mom's, and I think he decided to take vengeance on me, because he just cleaned me out of all the valuables I had. Another reason to come off those stupefying psych drugs, because they are stupefying, they're zombifying. Psychiatric medications make you a fool, and you don't just receive ridicule and laughter. You get an awful lot of stern faces and anger when you're on those drugs. Everybody thinks it's you, but it's not you. The real culprit here is Big Pharma. And Big Pharma knows it, you know. Big Pharma knows that an awful lot of their drugs are doing harm. You know, yeah, they're still trying to push thalidomide. I mean, once they create something, they hang on to it. Speaking of that, that was chloropromazine. That's a chemical lobotomy. So in 1992, I was 30, so it didn't take very long for them to polydrug me to where I attempted to take my own life. So I was 26 when I had the accident, 27 when I started to get psychiatric medication, and trazodone, which was the thing which began this disconnection of my brain to my body. I couldn't feel what was going on. Something was going on. I had a suspicion that something was going on. Anyway, psychiatric medications, people are buying into them. So, you know, there is this wall up for the media to keep it silent about what these drugs do, because it benefits the governments. It makes the population a lot more compliant, apathetic, selfish, self-indulgent, moody, chaotic, violent. Sometimes I wonder if part of the reason why I roll my fingers is not just indicative of the spinal damage that I have, but the neurological damage that has remained from being polydrugged on those neurotoxins, which I ditched 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And people like the police and the courts and the judges and the lawyers and the medical people and the whoever and I don't know who, think I am a schizophrenic. No, I'm not. I know what these drugs do. I help people online to survive the withdrawals off these drugs, even the newer ones. I give them hope because neuroplasticity is real. You can rebuild your brain. You can rewire your brain. You can make yourself have an absolutely fabulous brain, but not on the psych drugs. They do. These things, these